All right. Welcome back into the podcast. And I am really excited for this episode today. I got my guy with me, Evan Blanchard. I'm so excited for this. We're getting back into baseball. I've been a little too focused on the NBA playoffs. I had to take a little break. And I was like, why not call my buddy on who actually works in basketball with me on the student managing team? But today, we're going to shift over and talk about some MLB baseball. So, Evan, how are you, man?
I'm great. I've had a great summer so far. I've been watching a lot of baseball, still watching NBA too. But I'm kind of ready for the NBA season to be done. I want to turn my focus fully onto baseball now.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to say that in my lifetime because I love the NBA so much. But I love getting other people's perspectives and talking about every sport, really.
For sure, it's great.
I'm excited to get into some baseball. I used to be a big baseball fan. Not so much anymore, especially because the Tigers have not been as great as we've wanted. But I'm hearing this year that we've been a little better than expected. So talk to me about that. You got to fill me in. What's going on here?
So with the Tigers, obviously we had a 2-9 start. Not good.
No.
Everything was just kind of falling off the tracks, and it all really started with last season, where that was supposed to be our jumping point. You know, we were coming out of a rebuild. We called up Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson. All of our starting pitching was starting to come out of the leagues too. We had Mize, Scubal, Matt Manning. You know, guys were supposed to be making that jump. We got Javi Baez, Eduardo
Rodriguez.
Thank you.
No, you good. You good.
But it just didn't click. And I was telling everyone that I know that the season that the Orioles had last year, where they were nearly a playoff team, that's the season that Detroit expected to have, and we went in the opposite way.
Yeah.
And when we started 2-9, I was thinking, all right, this is just how it's going to be. We're going to be a lottery team again for the next 5 years. But things turned around. Right now we're sitting 2 games out of first place in the AL East, or in the AL Central. And yeah, our record is pretty bad. We're around 500. For a baseball team, that's not great. However, once you make the playoffs, anything can happen. The goal is to make the playoffs. And at this point, we've been dealt a little bit of bad luck. I mean, guys are hurt. Riley Green has a partial fracture in his fibula, which is not good. That could be out for the season.
Yeah.
Rodriguez is out right now, not for too long, I don't think. Matt Vierling is out, and we've been out without Austin Meadows and Kerry Carpenter, 2 guys that are really solid the whole year. And Mize and Scubal and Manning, they're all hurt too. Guys are hurt, but people are starting to step up. We're still getting, really good production out of guys. Jake Rogers has been really solid. Eric Haas has been solid. Akil, he's been really solid too. I mean, he got sent down for a bit last year. He's come up and hit really well, which is what we need. We just got to stay in it until guys can get back, and then hopefully we can buy a bit at the deadline if we're still in the race and make a push for first in the division.
I mean, like adding on to your point, I mean, I feel like injuries, they kind of happen to everybody in the MLB.
They really do.
It's such a long season where it's like, if you don't hit the injury bug, that's shocking to me. And it might hit you in the postseason, and that's not what you want.
It's about treading water and having some depth. And right now our starting pitching depth is definitely, it's really hurting. Joey Wentz has had to make a lot of starts. He's not pitching good. Some other guys we've had to call up, just they aren't doing well. The relief pitching has been great. Will Vest, Alex Lange, Jason Foley, even guys like Cisnero, who before the season had really not been pitching well. They're making really good appearances and really helping us. So we just finished a series against the Rangers. We went 1-2 in it. They're one of the best teams in the league. The fact that we were able to scrape out a win after Riley Green went out, that's big.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the standings that I have written down here as I was preparing, I got Texas on the top of the AL West. So that's big win. And looking at the Tigers, man, just like you were talking about, last year we had higher expectations. It didn't go our way. We were one of the worst teams in baseball. This year now we have low expectations, and I feel like the low expectations for this team is probably better.
It probably is. I mean, there's a lot of young guys. Like I said, all the guys that are starting to come up, they're young, and they need time to grow. Like Riley Green was almost at an 800 OPS before he got hurt. That's exactly the kind of season you want to see from a second-year guy. Spencer Torkelson, the stats aren't fully there yet, but he's barreling up the ball really well. He's having a lot of great at-bats, and he's going to make that jump. Like, I really feel like that's coming. And you can really use the Javier Baez bench as like a point in the season where he kind of turned. He made a stupid error on the base paths. He was benched for it. And after that, he really turned around, and the season really changed too. He's been playing really solid, but so have guys like Zach Short and Zach McKinstry. They've been really solid. So as long as guys continue to step up and keep us at around 500, the hope is once we get to the deadline, we'll buy instead of sell. But I could see guys like Matthew Boyd, a lot of our bullpen guys, and maybe even Erod being sold. I could see that if we could get a really big bag back for him.
Why would we sell Erod? I know he's playing at a really high level, and I've been loving what I'm seeing from him. So, like, if we're this close to a playoff berth, why do you think we go away from him?
Well, it really depends on how we're going at the deadline. If we drop, a lot of games behind first place, I could see us being huge sellers because we have a lot of guys. I could even see like Skubal being sold. I don't want to see that. I think we're close. I think we should be buying. So the question is, with what? And we do need to replenish our farm system. It's bad. We have one of the worst farm systems in the whole league. And a big reason we're hurting with that is when we traded Isaac Paredes to the Rays for Austin Meadows, he's doing great on the Rays. He's got like 8-9 homers. He's playing really, really well for a Rays team that's doing great.
Yeah.
And Austin Meadows, I'm not going to get into it, for whatever reason he's missing. I think it's his mental health. But we're just not getting anything from him. And he's a great player. With that trade, that signaled that we wanted to, make a push to contend because he's an established player who's good. He's good when he plays. Trading out for Isaac Paredes, who is a budding prospect. But we got the short end of that deal. So we're under new management, Scott Harris. I'm just really interested to see what we do at the deadline.
Yeah, no, I really think it's going to be interesting. I guess it depends. How close are we to the deadline? Do you know when the deadline is?
I'm pretty sure it's June or July-ish.
Okay, July-ish.
July-ish.
So we got another month of baseball, and I feel like this month then would be like a big turning point to see
very important.
Where we go in the season. And it kind of sucks that we're dealing with injuries right now, like during this big month. But how does our schedule look in this month? Or is it looking solid?
It's a bit tougher.
Okay.
I can take a quick peek at it. I know that the Twins themselves they're first in the division, and they're going to be going on a very hard part of their schedule as well.
Okay.
But we are entering a tougher part of our schedule too. So it's really, you just have to win the games you're expected to win.
Yeah.
Maybe you can eke out a few that, you're not favored in, but you just have to win the games that count. I know we're playing the White Sox soon. I think start of this month we're playing the White Sox. I know we're going to play the Phillies. Those are the games we should win.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can just claw out some victories and stay around 500. That's the goal.
Yeah, no, I mean, like looking at the Tigers, I've been watching a few games here and there, just trying to like keep up and seeing them in action. And I love how they like just keep playing. Like even if they're losing, they're still going after it. They're still like, you don't see any of them giving up.
It's every at bat. Awesome. Yep, every at bat's a grind.
Yeah, I mean, it really is awesome, and it's a fun team to root for.
They really are. Yeah, they definitely enjoy being out there, and I enjoy watching them. It's a good core of guys they have.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to look at the MLB as a whole and talk about some of the contenders that we see going pretty far.
Hello. This is Giovanni Mosheri. You might have heard me a couple times on Jake's Takes. I am the sports media director of Oakland University's campus radio station, WXOU, and I've been the host for about 2 years of a weekly sports show called The Jomo Show, where we cover all of Oakland University athletics, including a weekly update on scores and highlights, as well as interviews with athletes or those otherwise involved in athletics. You can listen to The Jomo Show live on WXOU Thursdays at 6, or you can tune in to me afterwards on Spotify. It's The Jomo Show.
All right, welcome back into the show, and we are going to flip over to some of the contenders in the MLB. Okay, we talked about the Tigers. I needed that refresh because I'm so happy they're contending, but we got to talk about kind of the main contenders, and if you're just an average MLB fan, kind of the teams you should be looking at. So, Evan, I asked you to come up with your top 5 contenders right now, looking at it. So let's start with your number 5. Who do you have as your 5th team in the contenders as your top 5?
Okay, so the way I was looking at it is, teams that are obviously at the top right now, but that have the depth and the talent to stay there right now.
Okay.
So if I was going to pick my number 5 team, I'd probably have to go with the Texas Rangers right now. Definitely a sleeper team coming into the season. But the way they've played up to this point, they are just playing really great baseball. Their pitching staff has been just phenomenal. All with Jacob deGrom barely playing. Eovaldi has been awesome, like Cy Young level great. Martin Perez has also been really solid. And like I said, they don't even have deGrom yet. All their hitting has been awesome too. So they have the guys that are there to make a push. And they've just been playing really great ball. In the AL West, that's where the issue is. You've got the Mariners, the Angels, and the Astros. The Athletics stink. They're going to get easy wins out of them. But everyone else, that's a hard battle. However, with the change of the schedule where you're not playing as many games against, the teams in your division, they're going to have more games against other teams that they can beat, which is definitely going to help them. Their batters. Adolis Garcia is great. Corey Seager is great. Marcus Semien is great. Then you have guys like Josh Young, a young prospect who's playing really well. Nathaniel Lowe, kind of a utility guy, not really, more just like a role player guy who's starting to play really great. And then Jonah Heim, their very young catcher, he's been playing amazing. So they have all these guys that are ready to take that jump.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying it best. I didn't really know too much about the Rangers, but getting deGrom for them was huge because that happened this offseason. Is that correct? Because he was on the Mets for a while, right?
Yep, and I was kind of hesitant with that contract. It's a load of money, and there's been a kind of a trend. Like Scherzer and Verlander both got a ton of money too. They have not been pitching well. And I just feel like if you're going to give a ton of money to a pitcher, you want to have a guy that's for a lot going to be solid. And Scherzer and Verlander are just really old, and deGrom just is very injury prone.
Yeah, so. I mean, and I feel like if you're a pitcher, it's tough to not be injury prone because like there's so much, especially if you're like one of those elite pitchers, which is why I'm so impressed with like a guy like Ohtani, who can pitch and be one of the best hitters in the game and still be healthy the majority of the time. That's unbelievable to me. But like looking at a guy like deGrom, Scherzer and Verlander are older, so like injuries kind of happen more often when you're older. But looking at those guys, am I wrong to say that, like, if you're one of those top-tier pitchers, it's hard to be healthy all the time?
No, but I think part of being a top-tier pitcher is that you are healthy.
Okay.
No one can deny that when deGrom is healthy, he's the best pitcher in the game. His stats are there. Everything is there. The Rangers giving him that massive contract shows they want to win. And they're doing that right now with, they just gave Seager and Marcus Semien huge contracts 2 years ago, and it's paying off. They want to win. They spent the money. They're a huge market team. It's paying off. Now, if I was doing it, I don't know if I would have gone after someone like deGrom just because there's other names out there that might be more reliable with less upside, but a higher floor just because of their health.
Okay. And I completely agree. Again, I'm just trying to put together with like my knowledge of like team building and things of that with the pitching staff. So like Texas to me seems like a deep team with some pitching and just going to probably rely on DeGrom's health. Am I wrong or no?
Yeah, they have all the guys there to help out though. Like I think Dane Dunning is their 5th or 6th guy, and he's a good workhorse starter. He's going to give you innings. He's going to be good for you. And there's other guys that I can't come to mind right now, but their whole staff is just really solid. They're number 6th in total ERA as a staff so far in the season. That's huge.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, let's move into your 4th contender. So who do you have as your number 4?
If I was picking a 4 right now, I would probably have to go with either the Houston Astros or the Dodgers.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to go with the Astros just because I
Okay.
think their hitting is more of a question mark right now. They're actually first in that ERA as a cumulative team. Framber Valdez is a stud, and they have all the depth there to back him up. Lance McCullers is great.
Okay.
Other guys too, like Christian Javier. Now they don't have Verlander this year. He was Cy Young last year with them. He's moved on, but again, they're still top in ERA, and a lot of it is their bullpen too. Ryan Presley, Abreu, Hector Neris. They have all these guys that are proven, beasts in the bullpen. The hitting is where it's more suspect because Alex Bregman is not having a great year. Jose Altuve, who he's a stud, he just came back from injury. Yordan Alvarez is great. Kyle Tucker, great. It's the other guys that are needing to fill in. They just signed Jose Abreu, former MVP, to first base. He's really struggling. He just hit his first homer of the year. So they have things to figure out with their hitting for sure. Jeremy Pena has been solid. They just have, it's not the same hitting powerhouse that it once was, But
Yeah.
the pitching is there still. And the guys could regress to the mean still. They can start to hit better.
That makes sense to me too. It's hard to keep. I mean, they've won 2 World Series in the past 5 years,
And made 4-ish.
yeah,
in there.
and I mean, it's hard to keep that sustained success.
They've done it for so long.
They've just
though,
done
you
it
know.
for so long, and it's so impressive to me how they just keep it up. Like,
Very, very well run
Yeah.
organization for sure.
it's flat out incredible. So Houston and the Rangers are in the same division.
Yes.
So who do you see coming out of that division on top? Do you?
That's going to be tough. I'd have to look at, strength of record and all that. But, starting pitching goes a long way.
Mhm.
The Astros are a proven commodity. They've been doing it for a long time. Jose Altuve just got back. That's going to help them. I think the Astros will pull out with the division again. But I would not be surprised if the Rangers did it. I think it's about 65-35% for the Astros in favor of them.
Yeah, and that's just a stacked division too with the Angels and Seattle.
And those teams won't go quiet. I could see the Mariners getting really hot because Julio Rodriguez has just not been great, and he's a stud. Dude is a
Yeah.
flat-out stud, and he's only OPSing like 750. He's going to go up, and the Angels are playing really good. And when you have Ohtani and Trout, they're going to keep getting better. Their pitching staff is really solid too. They're going to be better.
Question about the Angels before we get into your other contenders, but is this the best they've done like to start a year and like near because they're near the top and they're normally not a playoff team?
Well, it's funny
this is
because
kind of
last
impressive.
season they started really well too.
Okay.
They started really great and then they dovetailed. With the Angels, it all revolves around who is supporting Ohtani and Trout. And if they're getting good starting pitching outside of Ohtani. Ohtani's been great, Trout's been great. The other guys need to produce too. And they have to beat the teams that realistically, actually, they have to win the AL West. If they don't win the AL West, they're not going to make the playoffs because the AL East is so stacked that I can see the division winner of the AL East getting in, and then the 2 wild cards coming from there. And that's how it's going to be. They have to win their division or they're not going to get in. Pretty much that. I think it's 3 wild cards, though, this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they just changed it.
But even saying that, I could see all 3 of them coming from AL East, realistically.
I mean, both the AL East and the AL West are stacked.
They're stacked. Yep.
Like, flat out stacked.
Beating up on the AL Central.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I know. But we're hoping for the Tigers, right?
Yep.
But, all right, let's get to your number 3. Okay?
I'll have to go with the Dodgers there.
Dodgers.
Now,
okay.
they were shaking my beliefs at the start of the season. They kind of looked a little bit lost. They had some injury concerns coming in. Losing Gavin Lux for the season, that really hurt. They actually took a back seat this free agency, that's not normal for them. They're usually, they sign a lot of guys in free agency. They go after it with their money. They took a back seat this season. They wanted to let their young talent come up, like James Outman, Gavin Lux. They wanted them to make that jump. So they let guys like Rojas play. And it just didn't really work out. But they're playing really well right now. They're on a run. The Dodgers are a pitching factory. They're throwing guys out there that are giving them just really good starts. Obviously led by Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, one of the top 3 catchers in the whole game, I'd say.
Yeah.
And JD Martinez, he's been playing really well for them too. Like, they're getting the guys. I mean, Betts and Freeman, they're top 10 in the game. They're producing, and the pitching is right there too. They aren't near the top in the ERA leaders, but they're just playing great baseball like they always have. It's going to depend on how they play their division. The Giants are San Diego's struggling. The Rockies are not good. They have to look out for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are playing really, really good baseball too.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. And looking at the Dodgers, I feel like we're always saying this about the Dodgers. Like, they're a contender. They're always here. They're always near the top. And then, like, something happens and they don't get the job done.
Yeah, they choke in the playoffs.
Yeah, they choke in the playoffs, 100%. And, I mean, is there any way that this team would be, like, what do you think the keys are for them to succeed and get to the top this year?
Sustaining the level of play into the postseason.
Okay.
I think they peak in the regular season, and then they play they lost to Atlanta this last season, and as it is right now, I think Atlanta's a better team. What I'm feeling like the Dodgers are doing is I feel like they didn't buy a lot last free agency because they're going to target Ohtani in free agency, and everyone's going to target Ohtani.
Yeah.
He's going to get a record deal. He's going to get money that no one else has ever gotten. And where else but to go but the biggest market in baseball, LA.
Well, he's already
outside of New York, probably.
Well, he's already there, but he just move over.
The Dodgers, more of a market,
are
more
like
of a
Lakers,
market,
Clippers. Yeah,
pretty much.
I understand.
There's no one better than Ohtani, so I kind of understand why they took that back seat. And maybe they just realized, maybe this season will let our younger guys grow, but they're still contending because that's just how they are. They're a pitching factory. They're going to turn out guys. Dustin May is coming back from injury. I think he actually just got put back on the IL, but they still have the arms. Like, Kershaw is still great. I know Julio. Oh God, I can't think of his last name right now for some reason. He's gonna be better. He's very much struggling, but they have the guys, and that's what matters. But as it stands right now, I think the Braves are still better in that. Which brings me to the second team, the Braves.
Braves, and I'll let you start going on the Braves because I was going to ask about your second team.
Well, I remember reading earlier this spring, maybe in March-ish, about what teams have the best future in the MLB.
Okay.
It is undoubtedly the Braves. They have all their core guys locked up. Acuna's locked up for years. Riley's locked up for years. Fried. Sean Murphy, who they just traded for. Matt Olson. That core will be competing for pennants in Atlanta for the next 3 years. And it all has to start with Acuna. I mean, the guy is coming back from a torn ACL and is probably the number one guy for the MVP right now. Mm-hmm. He's that good. He's pushing for the first possibly 50, 60 season we've ever seen. 50 home runs, 60 steals.
That's crazy.
It's realistic for him. That's where he's at right now.
Wow.
More realistically, it might be 40-60, but 50-60 was his goal. But it's not just him. It's Austin Riley, who's kind of struggling right now, but he's a beast. Sean Murphy is playing like a top 5 catcher, maybe 3 too, like as we were saying. Matt Olson, he's a great first baseman, really good. And to top it all off, they have Orlando Arcia playing shortstop, and they're like, oh, okay, he'll probably be the weakest part of our lineup. He's batting 300.
Yeah, that's insane.
And OPSing like 800 plus. That's great.
Yeah.
They're using him in place of Swanson, who they had last season.
Okay.
And he's producing. And to top it all off, Michael Harris, who was the rookie of the year last year, he's playing terrible. So if he starts to play like he can again, you better look out because no one's going to catch the Braves. And their pitching staff is 5th in the league in ERA, led by Spencer Strider, leader in strikeouts.
He's insane.
Bryce Elder, great. Max Fried, stud. He's on the IL right now. Okay. Kyle Wright, also on the IL. Struggled a bit to start the season, but he'll be back. Mike Soroka is back. He's had a lot of injuries, but he's coming back. They're great, man. They're just so good, and I wish I was an Atlanta fan. I really wish I was.
I mean, man, like the Braves, they sound scary. They sound really scary, and looking at the NL, like it's kind of clear they're at the top of the NL. I mean,
especially in the NL East, because the Phillies are off to a terrible start. You know, it's not the start they wanted at all. You go out and sign Trey Turner, give him great money. You expect the Trey Turner that's been in the league for the last few years, and you don't get it. He's having a really bad start to the season. He said it himself, I'm playing terrible.
Yeah.
And Bryce Harper just got back from injury. He's doing Bryce things. He'll only get better. But other guys just aren't doing what they're supposed to. Like Alec Boehm has been really solid. Brandon Marsh has been really solid. Stott has been really solid too. But a big part of their issues is Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler aren't being the pitchers that they're used to being. Those are 2 Cy Young level guys, and they're both struggling.
So looking at Atlanta and the Dodgers, why do you have Atlanta over the Dodgers? Is there a specific reasoning, or do you just think the Dodgers are too young? Like,
I think the depth that the Braves have, and they're a pitching factory too, but I have more faith right now in the Braves starters and just their track record too. I think they're just playing better baseball, and I think they're playing sustainable baseball. And I think their division is a lot weaker. Like the Dodgers had the Diamondbacks on their necks. San Diego's bound to heat up soon. So the Dodgers kind of have more pressure, whereas with the Braves, they're already up, I think, 10-8 games in their division. The Mets are far behind. The Mets are really hurting too. They're starting to play better, but they're definitely struggling.
Interesting. All right. This leads to your number one contender. Yeah. I'm excited to hear this. Who do you got?
Has to be Tampa. No, if I was doing it contenders, it would be Braves.
Okay.
But as far as the power rankings go, it's the Rays.
All right.
The Rays are, I wrote just a little stat down. They have 9 guys OPSing over 800. That's a minimum of 100 plate appearances.
That's crazy.
OPSing is on-base percentage plus your slugging percentage, which is it's a pretty good measurement stat for, you know, the quality of a player. It's taking how often you get on base plus kind of the value that your hits are getting. You know, a home run and a double mean more for your slugging than a single does. So they have 9 guys OPSing over 800. Yandy Diaz, their third baseman, he's OPSing over 1,000. Randy Arozarena, I think he's got over 900 too. Wander Franco, he has, I think, a near 3 WAR already, nearly 60 games into the season. That's on pace for like a 7 WAR season, which is crazy. He's going to be an MVP sometime in his career. And outside of them, it's guys that you just don't expect to play. Like, they just produce guys. That's the Rays. They deal away their talent, and then they spring up guys out of nowhere. Harold Ramirez, Taylor Walls, Josh Lowe. These guys just come up and they produce. Like, they dealt Austin Meadows, like I was talking about earlier, and they got Isaac Paredes back from us, and he's playing great. They are so smart, and they produce starting pitching like no one else. I mean, Shane McClanahan, Zach Eflin. Drew Rasmussen was on a Cy Young pace before he got hurt. Same with Jeffrey Springs. And they're getting Tyler Glasnow back soon.
Yeah, they
are just so deep and so talented. They deserve a better ballpark to play in. I've been to Minute Maid. It's not good. It's not fun. They are just so good. So good. The only thing I'll say about the Rays,
okay,
and it's more of a testament to their ability than it is, that they could lean off a bit. The AL East is so good. So good. All 5 of their teams are racing for a playoff spot. That being said, the Rays have 40 wins.
Yeah.
They're 40-13, something in there, which is just unreal.
Didn't they have the best start in MLB history? Wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
I thought it was close.
It was very close, if not the best.
Yeah,
and
they were sensational.
It's a testament to their level of play they're playing at, but it also shows that they could regress a bit.
Yeah.
They have room for that. The Orioles are playing great baseball. I wanted to talk about the Orioles a bit. Like I said, last season was the season that the Tigers hoped they'd have. Orioles need pitching. That's why they can't catch up with the Rays.
Gotcha.
But as far as hitting goes and the way that they're playing, the Orioles should make the playoffs, hopefully. But yeah, the Rays right now, they're a juggernaut. And they've done it by playing cheap baseball. Like, you want to make a modern day, if you want to make a film with Moneyball about the Rays, you totally can't, because it's the same thing the Athletics were doing, just smarter.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's flat out awesome. So you've given me all these contenders, and you're really getting me excited about both the Rays and and Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited about those two. But if you had to pick who you think can make the World Series and be there right now, would you pick the Rays or Atlanta?
It's tough. The Braves have the recent success, and so do the Rays. They made the World Series in 2020. I don't want to take that away from them.
Yeah.
But recently it's been the Braves,
Okay.
And the star power is there for the Braves. Established guys that we know are studs. Olsen and Acuna. Franco is still young. Randy Arozarena, this is his first brilliant season. He emerged in the World Series in 2020 when he had, I think, 7 home runs in the whole playoffs. They're great. They're really great. And their pitching is great too. But if I was a betting man, I'd have to take the Braves. I really would. I feel more confident in them. And they'll be less beaten up by the time they get to the playoffs.
That's 100% fair. I would agree with that 100%. But Evan, thank you so much for catching me up.
It was great. I love baseball, man.
Yeah, no, I feel caught up. I wasn't watching it as much as I wanted to. I was wanting to get back into it, and hopefully once the NBA Finals are done, I'd get back into it and be helping you out a little more without you carrying me as much as you did in this. But I'd like to thank Evan Blanchard for joining the show. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it again. It was
first quarter
fun.
of the baseball season kind of wrapped up. What are we, 50 games, 55
56.
games?
It's more like a solid third.
Yeah, solid third, which we'll take.
It's a good point to look back on the season. Everyone says you don't really check the standings until this last weekend. So
yeah, no, that's good thing we did it perfect.
Yeah, very timely podcast.
100%. All right, well, that's going to wrap up the pod for today. From Jake's Takes, this is episode 24. We're going to be out of here. Peace.